Hello, my name is Cynthia and welcome to my Flosstube channel. I'm happy to be here with you today on Wednesday, June the 2nd, I almost said January, to talk to you about my stitching, show you some things I've been working on, some things I completed a couple of summers ago, and also some plans I have for a cross-stitch camp. I had focused mainly in the month of May on my all creatures great and small, so I don't have a lot of whips to show you today. I thought I would start out with some previous finishes. One that I sort of refinished, and it's very rude. What's the word? Beginner is beyond what this is. I stitched this dimensions kit in July of 2018. Yes, 18, when I saw Priscilla and Chelsea's channel for the first time. And I had never seen cross stitch finished any way than a frame with mats, kind of in the 80s style. And so I was fascinated by Priscilla and the way that she mounted her cross stitch. So I'd never cross stitched before. I actually watched videos on YouTube how to cross stitch and I probably still don't do it correctly, but my crosses do mostly go the same direction now as opposed to this piece here. I do know a little bit more about back stitching, but even on this very first piece, it's charted in pink and yellow. If you've seen it at Walmart, I think I've seen it there. As recently as last summer. I don't know about this summer. I actually changed the colors to red, which is funny because I had no idea what I was doing, but I just felt empowered to, no, I don't want pink flowers, I want red. So I do still kind of like it, and from a distance it's cute, just don't get too close. Even my finishing is pretty wonky, but when I was redoing my window to have a beach theme, which isn't quite finished, by the way, I'll show you that next time hopefully, I had moved this piece off of the magnetic finish I had it on and decided to just pop it on this temporarily. I wanted to do the word plays by Brenda Gervais on here, but I haven't gotten all the patterns, and I've been doing other things. So I thought, well, let me just put what used to be on my white tray. This bow here has a pretty bee on it, and it's pretty cute, and I actually really like the way it looks on this tin. So instead of being on a plaque, I popped it on this buffalo check tin that I got from Hobby Lobby, and I'm pretty happy with that. So there's one refinish, and then I'm still getting some questions, which sort of surprises me, about my summer ABCs. I finished this last year, and I have a pretty detailed video about it. The inspiration for the America instead of apples came from Carol Fun on Instagram. She has some numbers after her name. But if you, pardon me just a second. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Dahlia is barking at two of the sweetest little toddlers in a little plastic tight car. I think she wants to go out there to play with them, not that she's upset. But I had changed this apples to America, and I had used a scrap of fabric sort of in the middle of quarantine when you couldn't get into Hobby Lobby or any stores. This I had thought was ruined, and so it's kind of like a murky, oops, it's kind of coming off. But I have a lot of details about all the different changes I made. I actually put them into a PDF form because I'd had several requests for me to show the changes, and there are some specialty stitches in here on the picnic basket. I did like a, let me see if I can get close enough. I did like a basket weave there, and I even have some pictures. So I've sent this out a couple times within the last couple weeks, which, like I said, was surprising because these videos are from last summer. But if you're interested in some of the changes in this pattern, if you have it, just send me an email and I will forward that PDF to you. I used a wool felt that I'm going to show you some more of that I got at Hobby Lobby last year, and just kind of free form cut a star. I really wanted this to be more of a patriotic piece, since that's how I decorate, and a little bit more primitive. So I really like the way that turned out. And like I said, there is a video detailing this a little better. I know it's a little bit hard to see, but I love putting that out. That whole series is complete. I better not let Dahlia get to it. And those were some previous finishes. Let me get out the pieces I worked on in May and finished, and I'll be right back. As I said, I mainly focused on all creatures, great and small, during the month of May in a Sania approach to what I used to call mania. No more. This piece by Hands On Design was one I'd wanted to do a couple years ago when it came out. I believe it's been a couple years, but I finally just went ahead and started it. And these are very small. I think it's 50 by 50. I probably finished it in a couple of days. It's super, in a couple evening stitching. It's super quick. The threads I used from my subscriber and friend Frankie. She sent a whole bunch from A Wicked Stepmother, which is her Etsy shop, and I showed those last time. They're actually upstairs, or I won't show you again. But I used the blues from Frankie, and then I used just DMC and things I had on hand. I think the Weeks was the called for color. It's kind of a faded corally red. And I had this brown and white ribbon, which sometimes I like better than black and white for a primitive look. And I dyed this fabric myself with a little dip in taupe red. It's a antique white Lynda 27 count. So it finished a little bigger than I expected. My cup that I put in this same drawer from Hobby Lobby, I have another one. I used Priscilla and Chelsea's cup, and it had enough space around it that I had to put ribbon, but it may be because it's 27 count, or maybe this design just finishes a little bit wider. So I don't know how I'll finish July. I probably won't do July. I'll move on to August, but I like that ribbon. It almost reminds me of the sea, like some netting. It's just burlap from Hobby Lobby, probably a couple years ago. So really like the way that turned out to go in my sea beachy window. And also for my beachy window, I was able to finish June from the Snowflower Diaries. This is actually charted as July, if you're confused, if you've seen this pattern before, if you have it. But for me, I wanted it to coordinate better with, you know, the oceany, beachy things. And so I used June at the top, and I used the same charted month that she put on the top of June. It has a bear, I believe, and I really want to do the bear, but I'm going to make it August. So I used her same lettering and used all of Frankie's threads on this one, except for the white and the 3371, which is that brown black, and the DMC color for sand. Dahlia, no, she's about to bite my pins. I have some Dahlia, no. Get down. Sorry, Dahlia was about to eat a box of quilting straight pins. So I know she would not appreciate that if she actually did it. But anyway, I used all of Frankie's threads for this A Wicked Stepmother and found them to be absolutely perfect for this piece. The flamingo pink was actually called Red Riding Hood, but because it has sort of a corally red, I thought it would look really pretty for the flamingos, and I really like it. I love the blue at the bottom. It has pretty variegation, and the greens too. So this piece took me a little bit longer. I probably won't leave it in here. I've kind of obscured the pretty border that goes on all of these pieces from A Joyful World SAL. So I'll probably find another finish, but I literally just popped this in here tonight to show it to you. So this is my June Joyful World SAL. And if I didn't say, I'd dyed this 28 count even weave from Hobby Lobby with some of the taupe as well. It may be been an antique white because it took it just a little bit differently, but it has some modeling, and I really like the way it turned out. So those are my two finishes for May. I had done some work on the Summer Celebrations piece by Little House Sampler last night. but not a lot. So I'll wait to show you that another time. The other piece that really dominated my stitching was my Barbara Anna All Creatures Great and Small. And I forgot to bring the chart cover in here, but I'm sure y'all have seen it. Here's how I'm stitching it on 40 count mallow and with anchor threads. In fact, that's causing me a little trouble because I ran out of my anchor green and I have to order that online. They don't sell it at my LNS, so I will have to get it. Hang on just a second. Okay, I have a very naughty puppy home with me this evening, so I have put her in the backyard. Let's hope that she can stay a little bit calm. I didn't bring the cover photo, as I said, but I've gotten so much done. I hope you can really see kind of how the design is playing out. I really love this piece. I worked filling in a lot. I'll put a picture of where I was last time at the beginning of May. It's actually 2 videos back, but where I started at the beginning of Mania or Stitchsania, I filled in all of the house and most of that border. I've got another word and I think that's it. I started on the rooster. I'd hoped to have this row done, but I really had so many little details over here to fill in still, like that bee and the beehive and another flower, plus the bucket lady. She wasn't there before. I added to kind of compensate for my missed, what do I call it? My bird that became a woodpecker. This bird here was in the wrong place, and so I just made it like a woodpecker. And because of that, I had room left over. I found a ladybug in my Brenda Keys traditional sampler motifs, like mega book. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but I was looking through and I was thinking of 2 friends or 2 people. I was thinking of my baby girl, Anna. She loved ladybugs, especially when she was little. She got her arm stuck in the bleachers at Mom's Day Out one time, and they almost had to call the fire department because she was collecting ladybugs. She had just a handful of like dead ladybugs. And so I think of her when I see a ladybug, and also my friend Amy from Amy Loves Toads. I think she would approve of an insect being added. So there's butterflies and moths, but I thought I wanted a bug. So I got a ladybug. And then I started on the hill, as I was saying, and I have about 5 strands of 862 anchor left. And since I'm going to be going on vacation for a lot of the month of June, I didn't want to put in an order. I'm actually going to stop my mail for a while, so it'll just have to wait. But I was getting a little tired anyway. As you can see, that hill is just a beast. It's not terrible though. I like filling color in around shapes because it just makes that shape pop so much. So I don't mind it that much. It's kind of fun to me. It's a lot of counting though. I will say that particular hill, the whole piece is a lot of counting. You have to really have your kind of structure in place or you will be having problems. This pig I noticed was 2 stitches too wide, the pink pig. And so he looked really strange and I couldn't figure out why until I really got in there and realized his 2 front legs were like 2 stitches too far over, which made his snout too far over, which crowded Eve. So some of this was unstitching, but I'm really happy with it. So that is my All Creatures Great and Small, and it's going to go up for just a little while. I had one other piece that I worked on that was a new start, and it's not stitching. Is that right? Yes, just one more whip. I showed this Celebrate wool mat that I found. Sorry for the glare. I've got all the little pieces in here and they'll fly out if I try to remove this, but I think you can see. This was by Primitive Quilts and Projects magazine, and the designer of this particular pattern is Maggie Bononomy. I think I'm saying that correctly. I've always admired her style, and they did a free Mother's Day pattern as a gift on that weekend, and so I went ahead and picked that up. And as I was looking at what I'd accomplished over the month, I thought I really didn't get a lot done. Let me just see how long this wool mat takes. I watched Carol Saltbuck Stitcher's tutorial. I've never really had any kind of lessons or any real knowledge of wool applique, but I thought, well, let me just try it. And I really love how it's turning out. That's upside down, of course. I'm probably doing things incorrectly. I know my stitching is struggling a little bit as I go through. Just like when you're using a sewing machine, sometimes the felt will kind of move a little bit, and I've got some wrinkles on this tulip, for example, because it's such a big piece. And I didn't have the kind of glue that Carol had to base this down. So I just used little tacks of Aleene's glue here and there, enough to actually get it to be in place. I've sewn this corner here that's right below my chin. The sunflower, the tulip, the berries, and those stems are halfway sewn on. And then all of this over here is obviously just tacked. So it wasn't as difficult as I expected. The pattern is not awesome, to be honest. I sort of expected a little more instruction in it, and not all the pattern pieces are even in here. Like these blue flowers, she didn't even list those as a pattern piece. I think it was left off, but it's on the photo on the front. So, and I felt like it was needed to balance off that blue tulip. Otherwise there'd just be one blue flower. So I just used the same size as those berries, maybe a little bit wider, and cut it out myself. And the petals, all she gives you, that's kind of falling, is just kind of a little shape like this on how tall to make it and how wide. So you kind of have to just make it up. I mean, you can follow the pattern, but I somehow expected it to be more like every piece would be traceable and cuttable, and it kind of wasn't. But it's okay. It's not, none of it's difficult, I would say. And she did give you all the dimensions on the stems and the flowers. The wool I'm using is that red felt. I think you can tell how thick it is from that first piece I showed you. So I'm working with two different thicknesses, which is challenging. And that red, I thought it would stitch up a little bit with some difficulty. I'm gonna just scoot it through. But it actually was easier to stitch the red felt than it is this green, really thin felt. It has a really kind of floppy texture, so it's kind of coming apart as I stitch it too. And that, again, maybe operator error. I've never had any kind of real instruction in this. I wish I could take a class, but anyway, I had a lot of this wool from friends that shared on from YouTube, and then I bought some of it at Hobby Lobby. The yellow was from Hobby Lobby, and the red. It looks almost a little bit Mary Englebright-like to me. And it's definitely not as prim as the Maggie's piece. Her colors are a lot more muted, which I actually probably would prefer, but this is what I had. And I do think it's pretty. I like it for summer especially. You're supposed to write celebrate here, which I might embroidery after I print it out on my computer. I'm a little bit nervous about freehand writing. I might mess up. So if I pencil it in and embroider it, I think it'll look nicer. So there's that. I just pulled that out on a tray with some sewing thread. I wanted to use the summer brown color that Maggie likes to use, but I looked at my grandma's stitching box, and these are colors that she already had in there, and they worked out really well with a different thread. I did have to pull in a brown DMC that I'm using with one strand. So that is how I'm working my wool applique piece. I had one friend say, you'll have to teach me how. And I was like, not until I know how, because I am literally just figuring it out as I go. And the main problem I'm having is the lumpiness as I stitch, trying to make sure everything stays down. And maybe if I had used the glue a little bit more liberally and used the applique glue that was recommended instead of just some Aleene's, I wouldn't have the movement of my wool as I'm stitching. But I am enjoying it, and I find it a nice break from cross stitch, because you can very mindlessly just kind of outline those flowers, or the stems take a little more patience, but especially the bigger pieces are super fun to outline and really easy. So I highly recommend that if you want to try a pattern. There's tons on Etsy, I know. There's a lot in the Primitive Quilt Projects magazine, and those are PDF. Even if you're international, you can get your hands on those. I think they're about $10, and I would say they're worth it. So even though they aren't quite as explicit in the instruction, they still were very helpful. So there are all of my works in progress for May, and let me show you a couple of plans for June. There's not very many because I'm going to be traveling, and a little bit of haul that also goes in plans. I'll be right back. Okay, I just have two little things with haul that I wanted to share, partially because they're plans. I saw Susie Reno in her latest video, I think it might have been the one before, but I think it was her latest one, shared this book, A Journey with Sibbel, Sibbel, and fell in love with the cover piece. I thought, what a cool way to use up scraps. And the finished piece that you put together, I think there's 14 different motifs, is that long. Isn't that cool? And it has lace in there. Some of these details are a little bit above my skill level, to be honest. I know I don't know how to crochet. This middle one, I thought you just added lace, but she literally crocheted it on. So I might be just piecing that together, but the motifs are very small, maybe like 30 by 40, and they're in really pretty colors like apple cider and creams and soft blues. It would look really pretty in my bedroom beside my door. So I really think I might start this either around Christmas time or next January, and just try to do a block a month because they're so tiny, and then you just kind of piece them together. So this book I found on eBay for like $3.50. So I was like, sold. It does have a few other projects in here, like a little bag, and it talks about, it uses like a first person account as if they were this immigrant, or not immigrant, this, is it Swedish? Which wasn't my favorite. I wish it was a little more cut and dry, like this is how you do it, this is how you put it together. It kind of leaves some details to your own, just kind of, I don't know. I'm really enough of a beginner that some of these instructions are a little too vague. So I will say that I'm pretty sure I can figure it out, but I wasn't in love with the instruction style. I felt like it was a little bit just, here's a picture of what you should do. A few graphs and a few instruction comments, but not very many. So I will give you that word of caution, but I found it on eBay for such a value, and it's a great way to use scraps. Like I said, linen and some blues. So I think I'll be doing that. I might even contact Susie and see if she'd want to try it, since I got the book because of her. And then the other thing that I was inspired to purchase by Sherry, Colorado cross stitcher. She is hosting a cross stitch camp for the entire summer, June, July, and August, and I thought it would just be a fun challenge. I picked up Bigfoot bunch. I've wanted to do these stacks by Paulette for the whole time they've been out, and I just haven't really started one, but this one made me laugh because we are vacationing in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, which has a Bigfoot festival in October. I read up a little bit on it online, and it was hilarious. Apparently there was a sighting by this man, I want to say back in the 50s. It's been a long time ago. And so ever since then, a lot of people that believe in the legend have flocked there in October. And as you go through the stores and all the things around at that entire county, you see tons of Bigfoot stuff. I have a photo of my brother and my mom, and I'll insert that here. They were seated in front of a Bigfoot statue, and I thought it'll be fun to get a picture of the whole family, or at least some of the kids, in front of that statue, and put a pocket on the back of this. And I'll put those pictures from 2018 when we went, and with my mom and my brother and his family, and then also of this trip we're going to be taking in June. So it'll kind of be just a Bigfoot travel memento, if you will. Here's the threads. They're all DMC, super pretty colors, though kind of more muted. This is turning, it looks more red than it is. It's kind of a terracotta, but I was able to go to my local needle workshop in Arlington with my friend Rachel. Hi, Rachel. We had such a good visit and just a fantastic time together. So I picked that up and I'm using some of my Victorian Motto 32 count. So that is going to be my challenge piece. And if you're interested in about the cross stitch camp, there is a Facebook group. It's not too late if you want to enter the challenge. I know there'll be prizes. If you complete your project in June, you'll be entered. And also you were supposed to be inspired by someone on social media to stitch that. And I would say I love the finishes that Faye Rigsby posted back in the spring of all of those in a big basket. I thought, okay, I want to do more of those stacks, not just the animals, but the monsters and all the fun ones. So that is my plan to start within the next couple days. The other thing I'm working on in June, I pulled out last night all the new colors for my block 7 of Hawkrun Hollow Village. It has lots of, doesn't look as much like it really is. A lot of greens in this block because it's the trees. I have my chart on the front here. The one in the middle that just has a lot of words and trees. So I was really hopeful that I could get a lot of that done. And just in the time I pulled it out, I started on the lettering and then the bottom of those trees. I have the outline. I'm having to outline these now as I go. I had all of it done front and down, and now I'm having to fill in with the blocks of, I think it's 92 by 92. So here she is again, Hawkrun Hollow Village on 36 count vintage country mocha, 2 strands over 2, which is really bulky, but I'm still happy with it. And I had changed the lettering. Oh, that is one over dyed I'm using. That's a change to Lagoon by Gentle Arts. It's a really pretty bluey teal. I don't know if you can see that. I like to see variegation when I'm doing lettering. I think it looks really cool. So I'll be back to some of my rotation with Hawkrun Hollow, and then we will be out of town for quite some time. So I don't know if I'll have another video in June, but I will if I can. And hopefully I'll be stitching on the Bigfoot piece and more on Hawkrun Hollow and my other pieces in my regular rotation. I thank you for spending time with me today. Oh, one other little side note. I just wanted to give a plug for Teresa's Primitive Treasures on Etsy. I'll link that below. I showed my bird finish 2 videos back that had my punch needle finish with a little bit of an oops from her shop. The hole was drilled out of balance, and so my plaque hung a little crosswise, and Teresa saw my video and quickly sent a new plaque to replace the one that was damaged. And I actually am going to use that for my mom to make her a plaque just like mine. I had intended to do that anyway, but I just wanted to let you know that she was very gracious and had fixed the problem with the product that I bought. So I was going to use it anyway. It wasn't a really big deal to me, but I just wanted to let you know what a great customer service experience I had from her. And I think that's it. So I hope you have a great June. I hope you have a great start to your summer and that you're feeling well and stitching and enjoying your families. As I say at the end of all my videos, in Psalm 90, verse 17, it says, "May the favor of the Lord our God be upon us and establish the work of our hands." Have a great June.